Good morning, this is Victoria Beal with the Ohio LTAP Center, and we're very pleased this morning to be able to provide a webinar, which is actually going to be a live demo provided by Catherine Robertson from our Tech Services Division on the TIMS system. A couple of quick housekeeping items. As you're joining the webinar, you are in listen-only mode. At the end of the webinar, I will unmute you so you can ask questions of the presenter. If you have questions while the webinar is occurring, there is an icon on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you're not already seeing a chat pod on the left-hand side, it kind of looks like a thought bubble or a text bubble, and it's in a circle. You can click that to show the chat pod, and in there you can go ahead and enter any questions you have, and I will read those questions off to Catherine while she's doing the presentation. The other item is we are attempting to record this webinar, and if we're successful, we will post a link later and send that out to you. But we do encourage you, even though we're recording, to please ask whatever questions you have. Don't be shy, because if you've got that question, I am certain there are at least 10 other people that have it as well. And the more questions we get, the better we can make the webinar and, have the information available for everyone. So with that, Catherine, are you ready to take over?
Yes, I am.
Great.
Good morning, everybody. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so here we are. We're here today to talk about ODOT's Transportation Information Mapping System, TIMS, and the idea behind this web application is to provide a centralized location for all of our roadway information and all the assets associated to that. So we wanted to make it publicly available and easy to use. And like it says on our homepage, our mission is to provide better data so you can make better decisions. So we'll step through the website today, and the entire webinar will be a live demo. So feel free to chime in with your questions as we go. And we'll get started just by how you can access the site. We're already looking at the homepage, and you can see the URL here, gis.dot.state.oh.us/TIMS. Probably not going to remember that. You can always bookmark that site once you've gone there for the first time. And on our title bar, the ODOT Zephyr is a link to our external ODOT homepage. From there, you can scroll down to Maps and References, and there's a link to TIMS there. And you can also just Google search ODOT TIMS, and this website should be the first result that comes up. So that will get you to the homepage that we're looking at now. And let's go over just a few navigation parts of this homepage. Okay, we mentioned the ODOT symbol will get you to our external homepage where you can find a lot of other information. And here at the bottom of the screen, the help link will open a user guide, which contains a lot of the information that you'll see today. So it's a good reference to go back and look at later. It's going to take a second to download, so we don't really need to do that. Let you get a quick view. So it's just a PDF that you can print or search. We also have this contact link, which will provide this email address, and this will be sent to everyone on the TIMS support team in Tech Services. And then since this is open, it's a good chance to note my contact information, Catherine Robertson. And then on the title bar, it will look the same on all of the pages, and the TIMS logo will always get you back to the TIMS homepage. Here in the center, we'll see a link for each of the 7 parts of the TIMS application, and we'll click through them quickly just to get a quick view, and then we'll spend a little time on each page later. So we have our project search page, which provides filters to search through our project database. The Create a Map page is where we'll spend most of our time today. It's the main mapping portal where we make all of our layers available, and that's where most of the functionality is, so we'll spend quite a bit of time there. The data downloads page is where you can download any of the layers that are available in the Create a Map page. They're available to download as an Excel or a KMZ, a shapefile, or a geodatabase. So we have all of those pre-packaged, so they're easy and quick to download. Standard PDF maps are some pre-configured templates to generate a quick PDF map that you'll use for your presentation or work that you do regularly. Most of these are based around project data. Map viewers are similar to the Create a Map page in functionality, but they have content that's focused in for a specific audience. So we'll look at a few of those later. The data glossary is a resource for getting information about what the fields are in the data that you see. And finally, the crash data search page. It is the new GCAT tool, and it requires a login because it has the detailed crash information. And if you want more training on this tool, there are webinars and trainings available also through LTAP. We have a stripped down version of crash data available to the public, and we'll take a look at that when we're in the Create a Map. And the last thing on our homepage is you'll see the search by PID boxes. And we just wanted to provide an easy way to pull up a specific project if you work with ODOT projects. So I can type a PID in, 35. And it will pull that up directly. But let's start with the general project page and get familiar with everything that it has there. When you first open the project search page, you'll see that projects are automatically loaded. It defaults to showing you 10 records at a time. And overall, you can see we're pulling in over 57,000 projects that you can access through TIMS. And let's read this disclaimer so you'll understand what projects are pulled in. Not every project that we have in the ODOT LS database is pulled through, but so we'll just read this. Through this search includes projects with 1, funding categories of LS multi-lane or major rehab, STIP, major bridge, safety HSP, safety SRTS, local programs, and track. Or 2 are completed, current, or future projects with committed funding. And 3, they must have a valid work location in our system so that we can put it on the map. Okay, so if you're looking for a specific type of project and you want to narrow down all these 57,000 results, you can start here with these location filters. So let's pick District 6. I'm here in Central Office. And if I can get all of this to fit in the screen, I'll change that to just 5 records, and I'm going to make it a little smaller. Is that too small for everyone to see? You can chime in, Victoria, if they comment.
I can see it fine. Hopefully they can too.
Okay, good. Because it'll be useful to see how this results table refreshes as we work through the filters. So just by narrowing down recorded location of District 6, you can see we've gotten it down to 182 projects. And we can bring that down to Franklin County, 85 projects. And I'd like to note that you can sort by clicking on any of the field types. Of course, they're all going to be Franklin. Okay, so now we're looking at all the projects that we've pulled through, but say we want to just narrow it down more by date. We want to see current projects. In the filters on the right side of the screen, we can choose a fiscal year 2019. So this will get all the projects from 2019 and into the couple of fiscal years that we have funding already dedicated in the future. So if we want to narrow it down to just this fiscal year, we'll put 2019 in both fields. And it's gotten us down to 85 projects. And then we can narrow it down by the type of work. Say we're looking for bridge work. So we can come under primary work category. And you'll see we have a few work categories that include the word bridge. For now, let's just pick bridge replacement. And we'll see in Franklin County, fiscal year 2019, we have one project. But say we wanted to see all of those. To clear any of these out, you have to click the reset button. And we're still going to want to keep those fiscal year filters. But now I want to use the search box to pull up where bridge exists in the primary work category for all of those bridge related. Just type in bridge and it filters as I'm typing. So you'll see that's given us bridge repair and bridge replacement that we have going on in Franklin County in fiscal year 2019. And from here, if you want to get information on more information on this specific project, you can click this View Details button, and it will open this information page. And that will provide information on funding, if there are project plans available. And I forgot to check before the webinar if this particular project had any plans, but there's a link there, so you can click the link and it will open, and if there are plans available, you'll see that. So maybe we'll check back on that later. I'm on the wireless here, so hopefully our speed will be good. At the top, you can open this project in Ellis, and this is an Ellis portal. That's kind of a stripped down version that you can get even more information there. Or a view in the map project or button, which will open the create a map page, and we're going to show this from the project search page. I think trying to open the plans site is just going to freeze up, so go ahead and close that. So here I just hit the back button to get back to the transportation page, and you can see that it retains some of my filters. I still have what I had set at the top, but it did not maintain what I typed into the search box. So a lot of the options throughout TIMS are going to be saved to your browser. Even if I closed Google Chrome and then reopened it and went to TIMS, it would remember these filters. So it's a good practice to hit the reset button, when you close out, or just to remember when you go back in, there may still be a filter set. So let's see, let me check my notes quickly if there's anything else I wanted to do here. I wanted to highlight how you can select. You click to select, and then if you hold the control key, you can select multiple records. And once you have records selected in the results panel, you are able to export data similar to the data downloads formats. You can do Excel, KMZ, shapefile, geodatabase. Or the View a Map button, which will bring you over to our Create a Map page, and it'll be preloaded with those project records that you chose. And now we're here in the Create a Map page, but let's refresh it, start fresh. There's a lot in this part of the website, so we'll try to step through it methodically.
We've had one request for you to go a little bit slower.
Okay, yeah. And hopefully you guys are following along in TIMS, especially if you have two monitors, it's really easy to have the TIMS website open and follow along as we go. I do tend to talk a little faster as I go, so if that's the case, you can have Victoria remind me again. So just to step back, I went back to the TIMS homepage and going to the Create a Map page. And we'll do a quick overview of the features on this page and how to navigate around. You can see we have a results pane similar to the project page, and we have this tools pane on the left side. And those are resizable just by clicking and dragging, or you can hide them with these arrows. Zooming in is similar to Google Maps or any other online application that you've used. You can just use your scroll button on your mouse, or we have the buttons at the top corner of the map. And then the home button will get you back to the full extent. And the tools pane will always default to showing you the layers, and we have a lot of data available now in TIMS, and we're adding things every month. So we have them categorized, and you can begin to scroll through each category and see what's in there, and it can help to resize that pane so you can see the titles better. Under assets, we have all of our ODOT assets, and a lot of the assets that are collected through our collector program, if you're familiar with that. We can look at outfall inventories, and so as I click a layer, it turns green and it draws on the map. Maybe tower lighting, and then if you happen to choose one of our larger data sets, like culverts, there are a lot of culverts in our database. You'll notice that it turned on, but you don't see it drawing in our map. And in order to keep it efficient, the larger databases are set to only draw once you're zoomed in past a certain extent. So we can just zoom in until those begin to draw. And now we can see the green symbols for culverts. And let's see if we can get some of the other objects in here at the same time. And as we zoom in further, if there are labels turned on for those objects, those will begin to draw as well. Okay, so I'm going to turn these layers off now as I go through and just get an overview inside of each of these categories. And boundaries, it's all of your geographic boundaries. You can draw counties. Obviously, I'm zoomed in pretty far. Metropolitan planning organizations throughout the state of Ohio. Districts and urbanized areas, we have the PUCO electric service areas and telephone service areas. That can be a good reference. Under environmental, you'll find layers for things like mowing restrictions along our highways, wetland inventories, and under projects, all of the project records that we were able to see in the project search page live in our database with a spatial location. And some projects have multiple spatial locations. So we have made them available as a line object and point objects. That's a large database, so it will also require you to zoom in to see it. And then we have those projects filtered out. You can view just the next 4 fiscal years or view them by district work plan. roadway information. That is obviously what we focus on a lot, especially in tech services and the road inventory team. It's the basis for all of our other data. It's all associated to a roadway. I'm going to turn on traffic counts, because we'll use this in a little scenario in a minute, and I'll leave that on. Strategic transportation systems are some other good reference layers: airports, bus stops. And under safety, we have the publicly available crash data that I mentioned earlier, and that's split out by year. And basically, they've just removed any personal, identifiable information, and just provided basic information about that crash. So right now in our map, we are looking at average annual daily traffic. That's our AADT traffic layer, and crashes. So those are two bits of data that would be likely related. Might be useful to view those together and do some analysis. And let's try to drill down into this data and find what we're looking for. So I've turned this on, I've zoomed into some random area, but I want to look at a specific area. I'm going to use this first set of tools, Find Locations, on the menu bar of the Tools pane in the Create a Map page. And the drop-down list there gives me several options: find by address, which is similar to typing in an address in Google Map search. If you have a coordinate, you can find by latitude, longitude. Find log point, if you can choose the roadway and then the log point similar to mile marker along that road. And then find area, where you just choose a county or location. So we're going to zoom into an area in Delaware County. I just want to show that as you choose it, it automatically zooms to that area. And I have a specific address that we'll go to. As you can see, it defaults to the location of ODOT Central Office. And I'm just going to enter the address for District 6 Headquarters Office, 400 East William Street. That is in Delaware. And now I don't happen to know the zip code, so I'm just going to clear this out. And it was still able to find that location. So now let's note that I did the search and it populated something in my results table at the bottom. And it just created a temporary record for this location. And that's just saved in this browser session. Once you leave the site and come back, that won't exist anymore. But I also want to note, if you go back to your Layers tab, Set Visible Layers, you'll see that it shows that temporary layer under a new category at the top called Results Layer. And tries to give something meaningful to remind you how that was created. So I did an address search, and it's named it Find Address Results. And right now I'm going to click down and just remove that layer. We've gotten to the area that we want, so I just want to keep it clean so it's simple as we go through our demos. Let's go ahead and show how you would use this tool to zoom to a log point. So let's stay in Delaware County, and you can use your scroll button on your mouse to scroll through these values, or you can just start typing and it will filter as you go. So I chose a county, and now it's narrowed down the routes that are available in that county. I'm going to choose US Route 23, and again, resizing the pane can be helpful for tools like this where you want to be able to see what your options are. And now that I've chosen a route, you'll see the tooltip at the bottom. It's showing me within this county, my county log points range from 0 to 21.529. So it gives you the values that you can go to any location within those two numbers. So we'll go to log point 15, type it in, click the Find button, and you'll see it returns the information, an NLF ID, which we apply to all of our roads here at ODOT. The county log is what we're always searching here. There's also a state log available, which would go from the boundary, the west boundary of the state, all the way to the east boundary of the state. And it also provides a coordinate of that log point. Again, you can see we did a search and it created a temporary results layer. So we see that in our results table here, and we would see it again back on our layers tab. So we still have our find address result, and now we have an additional find log point results. I thought I removed that, but maybe I didn't. But we're here at this location, and we see there happens to be a crash record right at that log point. So let's get information now on that log point. And the way I zoomed in, the labels automatically generate as you pan around the map. So in that case, the label for the traffic count was drawing right on top of the symbol for the crash. So I'm just going to pan over so that will refresh. And now I want to find information on that specific crash record. So I'm going to use this identify tool. That is the third option on the tools pane menu bar. And you just click the eye icon, and then it wants you to click on the map to find those features. And hopefully this isn't going to freeze up on us.
While we're waiting on that, I just want to remind everyone that if they have any questions, they can feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat pod on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. And if you can't see the chat pod, you should hopefully see a circle with a thought bubble inside of it, and you can click on that. It should end up displaying your chat pod. At the end of the webinar, we will go ahead and unmute the phone lines so everyone can ask questions of the presenter. Thanks.
I'm going to reopen it, hopefully get some better results. So I've reset now. I don't have my search results layers, and turn my traffic back on, as well as safety. We can zoom right back to that location. Williams. I had zoomed to 23, didn't I? Okay. Okay, so we found some crash records here. Let's try this Identify Features tool again. There we go. Now, the location that I clicked in the map, the Identify tool is going to look for all the layers that I have turned on that exist at that point where I clicked. So under Results Layers, we'll see it gave me a drop-down list. I had traffic turned on and crash data turned on. So it's going to return any records that it found. And the example I had in the other location had multiple crash records stacked on top of each other. So let's see if we can mimic that down here. There we go. So sometimes multiple records in the database are going to have the exact same location information. And you can see at this point location, I see one dot, but when I use the Identify tool, it shows me that there are actually 4 crash features there. And I can toggle through those, and you'll see that the attributes will update as I toggle through. All of the crash dates are 2017 because that is the year that we have turned on. The crash database is one of our largest databases, so it is filtered out by year. But say I wanted to view all 4 of those records in my results table at the bottom. In order to select those and return those results down here, we're going to switch over to this filter data tool. So that goes set visible layers, find locations, identify. There are various tools that we'll come back to in a few minutes, and then our filter data tools. So we're going to start with filter by graphic. Choose that, and it will refresh the tools pane. And you have to pick the layer that we want to search, and we want to look at crash. There are a few ways that you can draw a graphic on the screen. We're going to start with a simple point. So you click the draw button. I'll try to go slow here in case anyone wants to follow along. And it's kind of grayed out. It's changed the text to drawing ... It wants you to come over to the map window and click on a location. Now that's a very small location. I want to give myself a bit of a buffer to make sure it grabs any features that are right there at that location. So I'm going to change this to feet. And let's see what a 100-foot buffer looks like. So I've chosen my measurement, I've entered a distance, and now I click this buffer button. And you'll see the shape draw. So it's 100 feet, a circle around that intersection. And that's going to grab these crash records as well. So I'm going to make that a little smaller. So you can just change that value, click the buffer button again. If you want to clear your buffer, this clear graphic tool. That cleared my entire point. So let's do that again quickly. There we go. And now I'm going to click the search button to pull up all the features that are in that one location. And that's going to populate those 4 crash records in my results table. And there's a lot more that we can do with that information from this results table. Similar to what we saw on the project search page, you can sort by clicking on any field, sort by date, sort by month. You can zoom to any individual feature. Of course, in this search, they're all at the same location. So if we clicked zoom on any of these records, it would go to the same point. You can export these results, just like the other areas in the TIMS application, Excel, KMZ, Shapefile, Geodatabase. Or you can zoom to all of the results with the button on the top of the results pane. And we have a search bar here as well. Say you wanted to narrow down, there are a lot of dates in this field. So let's do a scenario in a little bit that will be more meaningful when we type something in. And you can also change the columns that are shown here, show hide columns, and you can turn off certain ones. They'll all be on by default. Okay, consult my notes just for a second, make sure I'm on track, don't leave anything out. This might be a good opportunity for us to go over the base map options. So we're zoomed into this area, we're analyzing this intersection and the crashes that have occurred there. And we want to see the aerial photographs or the satellite imagery. So in your map window, in the top right corner, there's a small blue toolbar with a few options, and the globe image has a drop-down list with a list of all of the base maps that you can choose. The options at the top are third-party, so streets would be like Google Maps. Dark gray is just a basic monotone. And below, we have ODOT's version of the base map, which is similar to Google Maps. And then very useful are the OHSIP Images, Ohio statewide imagery program. They fly the state, I believe, on a 2-year cycle to collect high-quality aerial photographs. And I always choose OHSIP Best Available. It will determine what location you're in, which layer, or what is the newest data for that area. So now we can see really good quality images of this area. I can see the buildings and entrances to parking lots that might be useful to my analysis. And one thing to note about selecting a base map, that is also saved to your browser. So if I left the TIMS website and came back, it would try to redraw the base map. When I'm zoomed in, that's fine. But of course, the default showing the entire state of Ohio, that's going to be very slow to draw. So if you notice that it's slow, remember to go check your base map. And it's good practice to set it back to a street view basic image before you navigate away. Okay, does anyone have any questions on what we've gone over so far? Just a quick recap. We've turned on layers. You know what I forgot is to show you the legend. As you select layers in the Layers tab, you can switch over to the legend view. Adjust my headset. And it's dynamic and will show you what the symbols represent for all of the layers. So that's very useful. And let's even go back to some of these assets to show how that refreshes. So I can help you understand what you're looking at. Okay. And we've got started in the filter tools. We did a filter by graphic. Let's search another large database with filter by attributes. So let's clear everything out, kind of start fresh. There we go. And we're going to turn on our bridge inventory. It's a very large database, so again, you're not going to see all of those objects until you start to zoom in. Lots of bridges. And let's try to narrow this down. Let's take a look at which bridges are state-owned. And you'll get to see how we navigate through some of these data layers. So filter by attributes, and this drop-down list is going to populate with the assets that I have turned on. So bridge inventory. And I happen to know that maintenance responsibility is going to tell me if it is state-owned. And with a lot of our data, you might need to really know the data to understand what some of the codes mean. Our data glossary is a really good resource for getting more information, but that's also where our contact email comes in handy. We are happy to answer any questions or forward you to the departments that, like the bridge department that owns all this data to get descriptions if we don't have it here.
We had a quick question from the audience. How do you get to filter attributes?
Okay, so we are in our tools pane on the left side, And we're going to work our way over from set visible layers, find locations, identify tools that we haven't looked at yet, and then this funnel symbol are filter tools. So click that arrow next to that to get the options, and you can do a filter by attributes, which is what we're doing now. We quickly looked at filter by graphic, and filter by geography is also an option. So hopefully you're caught up with me and you see the tool as I do in the left pane, where you can select your features from bridge inventory. And then I know that I want to look at the maintenance responsibility field, so I've chosen that. Again, when there are a lot of fields, you can just begin typing in the drop-down box, and it will take you down to that record or that entry. I chose maintenance responsibility equals 1. I'm going to click the search page. Let's see what we get. Okay, so query returned over 14,000 features, which is more than the 5,000 max allowed. So we do have max result limits to what you can pull up in the map, and that's part of our effort to keep TIMS quick and easy to use and make it fast for you guys. So I know that I already wanted to narrow down my bridge information, so I'm going to add another filter. Back at the top of this, where I chose bridge inventory as my layer, I'm going to click the green add filter button. And I want to find state-owned bridges that have a rating of poor. So I'm going to find the NBI rating field. Is poor. And then you click the search button again. And we'll see that it's found 319 bridges in our database that are state-owned and have a poor rating. So let's narrow this down even more to one geographic location. I did note in my notes, this is a good time to show, of course we have a lot of records, so if there's something that you wanted to export out, it might be worth your while to only turn on the columns that you wanted to see in your spreadsheet or your shapefile. And if you were looking for something specific inside of this results grouping, such as pavement type, of course you can sort on that field by clicking here, or if I'm looking for pavement type of JTCP, I can just type that in the search box. And you can see that it automatically limited my results. It did it so fast it was hard to even see, but at the bottom it says showing 1 to 7 entries filtered from 319. So with that search box, it lets you apply a filter to your already filtered results layer.
We have a couple more questions that came into the chat pod for you.
Okay, great.
Can you filter on imported layers? What kinds of raster data can be added to the application? Are there options for layout and print? Also, is there web Mercator, MERCATOR? Wondering if there would be a need to reproject.
Reproject.
Yeah.
So all of our data is in TIMS. It is available as web Mercator 84. That's what you're going to get when you export it out as a shapefile or a GIS format. So if you needed to reproject it out of Web Mercator, then you would do that in your own GIS software. But everything you download is going to be in Web Mercator. So hopefully that's helpful. Back up to, what was the first question?
You need to read them again? Okay.
Just read one.
Sure. Can you filter on imported layers?
So we are going to get to the options to import your own layers through this add data. Unfortunately, we're limited to just viewing that data that you import you can't filter, so you're kind of limited on how you can incorporate that in into your analysis. But we'll look at that more when we get to that tool. Maybe there's more functionality there. So I don't want to eat my words, but we'll make sure we visit that when we show this tool. And then there was a second question.
Yep. What kinds of raster data can be added to the application? Raster meaning R-A-S-T-E-R.
Yeah, so these are the formats that you can bring in. I'm wondering if there's a specific type of raster data that you're wanting to see. If you can provide some more information.
Well, Justin types that in the chat pod. Another
Okay.
question is, are there options for layout and print?
Layout and print. There are. So we are going to look at our standard PDF pages where we have some templates to choose from. And then we also have this print map tool here. And we're going to use that later to show, once we've added some things to the map, then we're going to use this print button. And it generates a PDF too, and it's pretty quick. You can choose 3 sizes, but that's really about all you can customize.
Justin did type in
Okay.
some additional clarification. It says, for example, if we want to bring in proprietary imagery or UAS data.
So I don't think you're going to be able to do that with TIMS. It sounds like he's a more advanced GIS user, so I will note that all of the layers that we have published in TIMS are available as a REST service. So if he happens to be working with proprietary data in ArcMap or another GIS software, he can bring in any of these TIMS layers as a REST service. And if he wants information on where to access all of our REST services, he can shoot me an email directly, and I'll make sure that that's brought up at the end of the presentation here, or again the contacts link on the TIMS homepage. The email address that is given there, I'll see that as well. And anyone who would respond would share the location.
He said, okay, thanks. Just wondering about what the application can do.
Okay.
And for an update, I just wanted to mention that we've got about 13 minutes left in the webinar time frame.
Oh, wow. I thought I would fly through this so fast. And now I want to make sure I get through everything. Okay. So we filtered down through some of the data. Hopefully you guys are seeing how you can work with that. And let's see. I was going to show you could add one more filter to get this down to a geographic location by using the attributes. Almost all of our records have county and road association included in their tables, so we can choose county code, and we'll just do Adams. So now I see in Adams County I have 2 state-owned deficient bridges, and you can see them highlighted in the map here. And as we've talked about earlier, results layers are going to show up as a temporary layer at the top on the layers list. So if I only want to see those 2, I'm going to turn off the overall bridge inventory. And then from here, we just did a demo, but this might be a good point to print a PDF map, take that to your meeting. You could also generate a URL, but we'll have to talk about the limitations of that as well. So this last button on the top right toolbar, it generates a short URL that you can copy and send in an email. And what will be saved in that URL will be the layers that you had turned on, but it will not save your results layer. So that's important to remember. It will just remember all of the options and the layers that are always available. If you had one of those turned on, it will automatically be turned on when you go to the hyperlink. And it will remember the area that you are zoomed to. Okay, so let's see. From this area, I want to make sure we look at we mentioned bringing in your own data. So let's do a quick sample of, say you have a list of addresses, you want to plot them on your map. You can link to a spreadsheet, you choose the file, and then you have to click upload. And a lot of things in TIMS may not be intuitive. There's usually like an additional click. So you have to choose the file and then upload the file. And then you'll choose your columns.
While you're going through that, there was a question about how do you bring in road plans for a specific area?
So you're talking about like an AutoCAD drawing?
Ron, you'll have to type in the chat pod and let us know.
And unfortunately, we can bring in a spreadsheet that contains an address, a coordinate, or if you already have something that exists as a KMZ, or that's the file format that you can use to load into Google Maps, or it has to already exist as a shapefile.
He said
As far
no,
as
just PDF files.
Oh, to bring in just a PDF. Is he wanting to view that on the map? So the PDF won't include any spatial information, so we won't know where to place that on the map. And if you want to overlay that, I know in desktop GIS software, you can bring that in as an image and kind of plot it over top of your map. But for the TIMS application, we're not able to do that. So I was able to load addresses. Not nearly as exciting, I guess, but here they are. And it created one of those temporary results tables. So I could print, and it would show those when I printed them. But that's about the limitation there. And let's go through some of the options on this tools dropdown. There's a measure tool, which everyone should be pretty familiar with. If you wanted to make a text note or draw a box around something, you can use our draw tool. So I'm just going to say inspect here, click draw, and just click anywhere on the map, and it will add that note. And again, that will show up if you generate a PDF map, but if you generate a URL, it will not be able to carry that over into another browser. You can bookmark a location. So say I know I'm going to come in every day and I want to zoom to this area, I can just create a bookmark. I spelled that wrong, but you guys will forgive me, I hope. So if you have them saved in your browser, you'll see a list here. And of course, if you reset all your cookies or cleared your history, then that would disappear from your browser. And finally, these last two tools can be really helpful. We looked at the OHSIP imagery for getting high-quality aerial photographs. We also are able to link to our PathWeb system, where they drive our roads to collect pavement information. Okay, so PathWeb does not work in Google Chrome. It only works in Internet Explorer. If you happen to be in Chrome, just copy that URL and paste it into Internet Explorer. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with our PathWeb system, but it will provide all the images that were collected from our truck, and you can turn on the different cameras here on the side. If you have more questions about that, feel free to contact us at TIMS. And just one more useful tool, the map channel, is a third-party web map application. You can click anywhere in the map again, and Google just changed its privacy laws, so that's why you have to click that disclaimer at the first page. So this can just be useful if you're trying to inspect an area before you go out in the field. Wanted to note that. And we did look briefly at the data download. Now I'm going to quickly go through each of these options. If someone has another question that they would really like to squeeze in our last 5 minutes here, feel free to chime in. But to download anything, if you wanted to use it in another GIS application, you just go through all the data sets are grouped similarly. You just go through and turn on the ones that you want, and then you're able to export them, and you'll get that as a zip file. Standard PDF maps, a lot of these are based around project information. So you can choose your location.
Catherine, how often is the data updated?
So for all of our asset information, it is pulled through nightly. So our bridge data is pulled through nightly. Culverts, anything that's related to the collector program where they're out there in the field daily, we have a process that runs nightly to bring in the latest information. As far as our road inventory, our road inventory team here at ODOT is working on that all year long, but then once a year they publish a finalized version for that year. So right now we are still looking at the published 2017 road inventory, and they're currently packaging up the 2018. So soon that will be published and it will replace. So once a year we get an update to the road inventory, but our individual assets we update daily.
And we did have some further clarification from Ron.
Okay.
He said, if I am looking for a road project on a street, I'm looking for any projects that are on that road.
Oh yeah, that would be a great scenario to work through. I wish we had a little bit more time, but quickly, if I go back to create a map, just randomly zoom in to one location, and under layers, projects, I'm going to turn on all of my projects. Let's do just down to 4 fiscal years. And remember that we have to split them out. If we can't generate a linear geometry to show on the map, then we will create a point geometry if it's just logged as one coordinate. But here I can see in the next 4 fiscal years, these are all the projects that will be occurring on this area of roadway. And if I want to filter these down even more, I have these 2 layers turned on, and I can use my filter by attributes to go down into the field, and here I can access those same fields from the project search page, like primary work category, maybe resurfacing. And that would narrow down, of course that one's statewide, so I could add a county, or if I filtered like that and I'm zoomed into that area, it would, only draw those that I had queried. Hopefully that's helpful. Think what else we want to look at. Let's quickly take a look at our map viewers. So all the functionality is going to be the same as create a map. But especially with internal ODOT departments, we get a lot of requests for workflows that they repeat a lot, and they just want to see a specific piece of data or maybe have it symbolized differently. So we have a lot of county managers that are currently working on pavement projects, and they need to inventory culverts. So we were able to put together a customized map viewer that will show the culverts by rating, and pavement projects that are occurring in those areas. And then we were also able to bring in some information that we don't publish, but it is a REST service, like I had mentioned earlier, published by other government agencies, like contours and all of the parcel information. So if you're looking for something specific, it's worth playing around in our map viewers. And if you don't find what you're looking for, just want to get a head start, feel free to contact us and we'll help you.
And I'll provide Catherine's contact information when I
Thank you.
email out a link to the recording that hopefully has worked. We are bumping up right against 11 o'clock, so we want
We
to be
are.
respectful of everybody's time. And thank you so much, Catherine. I think that this has been a great webinar and an excellent overview of the TIMS system. We really appreciate all the pre-work you put into it with coming up with scenarios for us. And I'm sorry that we didn't have time to unmute everyone, but again, I'll send out Catherine's email contact information so you can email her any further questions. Thanks so much for being a part of the webinar this morning. Have a great day.
Thank you.